cool. But that's where his father's ride arrives. Looks like he has decided to live his own life and leave his 7-year-old kid behind. Furthermore, he tells Akimitsu that he has decided to get friendly with all the women around the world that he hasn't met yet. Bro is aiming to lay every woman that exists. As he departs, Akimitsu starts to shout with joy instead of crying. He farewells his father and again calls him the coolest dad. Anyways, back to the present day. In the snowy weather, we see Yuzuki waking up and ringing the bell to wake everyone up. Although after sleeping for hours, Akimitsu realizes that he has a class to attend. Therefore, he immediately rushes towards the subway for school. He still remembers the wisdom his father gave him before he left. But unlike other guys, he seems way more focused on his studies than staring at girls' buns as they run. Even when his friends tell him to stop and take a look at the girls, Akimitsu rejects their offer and reveals that he has some important work to do. He even says no when they offer him to visit the mixer. Turns out, Akimitsu believes that he is better alone and needs no girl. Okay, now that's quite the opposite of what inspired him from his dad. Later that night, Akimitsu picks up an extra shift at the local mart. At first, his boss apologizes for making him work at the mart at night, since Akimitsu is a college student, so the boss thought that he would have some other plans, such as going on dates or something. But that's when he interrupts his boss and tells him that he plans to stay single for life. Although it shocks his boss because at this age, Akimitsu's father reveals that his father had multiple affairs back in the day. That's where Akimitsu stops and glares at him and tells him that he is nothing like his father. Later on his way home, Akimitsu starts to think about his childhood. He seems to be pissed at himself for thinking that his perverted scumbag was cool. Well, mainly because while growing up, Akimitsu had to face so much embarrassment because of him. He even calls his father a jerk for leaving him and ruining the reputation of the Akagami family. Even the girls have always avoided him because of what they heard about the Akagami family. So now Akimitsu wishes to wipe away the dishonor that his father has brought. Hence, Akimitsu will live a life without a girlfriend and mixers. He thinks that it's a noble life to live alone. Moreover, he plans to pass the civil service exam and acquire a stable income and status. At least the boy is serious with his career. At this point, Akimitsu is way focused on his thoughts. On the other hand, we see a bale of rice falling right into Akimitsu's head. Hence, Akimitsu rolls down the road along with the bale and ends up bumping into the wall. That's when Yuzuki runs towards Akimitsu while holding 2 more bales of rice. She immediately starts to apologize and asks him if he's okay. Moreover, she starts to call an ambulance as she seems to be worried. But on the other hand, Akimitsu just sits there silently and observes Yuzuki as she seems worried. But he instantly snaps out of it and immediately starts to walk away from her. He starts to sweat and curses himself because he has promised to not fall in love for the rest of his life. Later that night, she even haunts him in his dream. At this point, he can't stop himself from thinking of how cute she is. Hence, the era of the Sigma male ends, and the very next day, Akimitsu starts to stare at girls while they practice running. Moreover, he even joined the boys to go to the mixer. Although it doesn't take too long till he realizes that he has gone insane after looking at Yuzuki. He even got fired from his job and started to skip classes. Looks like the curse of Akagami has been activated. Therefore, he decides to join the monks so he could distance himself from girls. And as he enters the temple gate, he meets none other than Yuzuki herself. The situation gets even worse when he starts to notice Yuzuki's clothes are loose. Hence, her body starts tempting Akimitsu. In the end, Akimitsu couldn't stop himself and immediately confesses his love to Yuzuki. It then cuts to both of them peacefully having tea, while Yuzuki reveals that the head priest isn't available right now. Therefore, Yuzuki is in charge of the temple for now. At this point, Akimitsu seems surprised because he never thought that the temple of monks would even hire girls. Anyways, Akimitsu gets so hesitant that he takes a walk outside to use the restroom. However, on his way, he hears kitten noises under the well. Therefore, he immediately reaches out to help the cat. However, Akimitsu ends up falling inside. And on the other hand, Yuzuki seems to be talking to her sister Kiki-san. Looks like someone was supposed to meet Yuzuki tomorrow for an arranged marriage meeting. Therefore, she thinks that Akimitsu is that guy, and she further defines the whole scenario to her sister. It confuses Kiki because the man that Yuzuki is supposed to meet is sitting right next to her. Even Tsukuyo gets back home to Yuzuki. So Yuzuki tells her sister that a malevolent ghost had appeared at their house. At first, Tsukuyo doesn't believe her, but she sees Akimitsu covered in blood approaching them and asking for help. Both of the sisters start to panic. Moreover, dizzy Akimitsu accidentally touches Tsukuyo's jiggles. Therefore, Yuzuki receives him a flying kick. Hence, both of the sisters start to run for their lives. Whereas we see Akimitsu chasing them, although he just wants to clarify the misunderstanding. Even their third sister Kugari witnesses Akimitsu chasing the rest. Hence, she ends up passing out cold. On the other hand, we see Kagura and Miya peacefully making her drawing, until the cute tsundere decides to check outside, and ends up getting bumped by raging Akimitsu. Just how many exact girls live in this temple? Anyways, Yuzuki finally manages to knock Akimitsu down before he could explain himself. Later, as they finally had a proper conversation, Kiki reveals that Akimitsu has entered the wrong house. It isn't a temple. Whereas Yuzuki assumed that Akimitsu is the monk that she was supposed to meet. So at this point, none of them is any mistake. Turns out the temple has been converted into a nunnery now. So to make up for Yuzuki's mistake of beating him up, Kiki decides to let Akimitsu stay here for a while and continue his practice as a monk. At first, everyone seemed to oppose the idea of letting a man stay at a nunnery, but that's where Kiki tells them that Akimitsu would be nothing but free labor for them. Although Akimitsu's dignity doesn't allow him to stay in this place. Therefore, he decides to leave and give up on Yuzuki. However, Yuzuki stops him and offers him to stay at the nunnery for a night, since it's midnight. Furthermore, she confronts him about his confession. She thinks that Akimitsu is taking things way too fast. Therefore, they start by introducing themselves. But that didn't turn out well. Looks like Akimitsu's father had to return 20 million yen to the nunnery. Hence, everyone's hatred towards Akimitsu increases more. Therefore, Miya decides to repay his father's debt. Even Yuzuki seems to be looking forward to it. The next day starts with Yuzuki telling our MC they have decided for him to repay his debt by giving his body. The episode is already off with a good start. Everyone starts panicking, thinking MC has blackmailed Yuzuki. Instead, it was just a slip of the tongue from Yuzuki. She corrects immediately by saying that he will repay his debt by working in the temple for them. Yuzuki shows Akagami around the temple. Akagami sees that they are broke, so he reassures them that he will pay his debt as soon as possible. Yuzuki thanks him for being serious about working here, and they shake hands happily. Everyone sees them shaking hands from the slit of the door and think that Akagami has trapped Yuzuki into thinking that he is a good guy. They are thinking of ways to get rid of MC, and suddenly, Kiki enters and tells them that they should use the seduction strategy and show Yuzuki that he is not a good guy but a pervert. Tsukuyo asks Kiki who should be the one seducing him. Kiki says, obviously the girl with the most desirable body. Everybody points towards Tsukuyo and says that she is the sexiest girl around just because she has big melons. She is not happy with the decision, but she agrees. The next day at 5 o'clock, Akagami wakes up energetically and starts cleaning and doing chores around the temple. As he is making breakfast for everyone, Yuzuki just woke up and enters the kitchen where Akagami is making breakfast. Her melons are quite visible, to say the least, and Akagami cannot help but stare at her melons. He completely forgot about his breakfast while looking at those ostrich eggs. She then goes off to sound the bell. He feels frustrated after getting a look at her beautiful melons. Tsukuyo watches all this happening and is a little itchy about it. Akagami calls everyone to have breakfast. Now everyone is sitting at the breakfast table and all Tsukuyo is thinking about how to drive this guy out. She starts to show off her cleavage by lowering the neck just enough, so they are in perfect view. He presents the breakfast, and after taking one bite, she understands that he is a better cook than anyone around, and she wishes to eat this for breakfast every day. but she composes herself for their strategy of seduction. She is really absorbed in the strategy. She calls him and he looks back to see why she called him. He is completely distracted by her balloons. Naturally, she thinks that it's working. I mean, why wouldn't it work? She takes him to the wardrobe and shows him the summer outfit, telling him that this is the outfit monks wear. She thinks that this will be uncomfortable for him, but he is very excited and thanks her for giving him the outfit of monks. She tells him to clean everything around, but he has already done everything. She is shocked. She tells him to do the administrative work, and he right away picks up an accounting error and fixes it in no time. Tsukuyo is impressed, but she still composes herself.